Hello everyone and welcome to this another episode of 3D prototyping in Unity. My name is Kasanas. Guys, this series is going to be based on a customization screen. I'm calling it a customization screen, but really it can be used for a number of different things. Our goal is to create a scene that is going to allow us to view a character, maybe change out some of the equipment the character has on, maybe even change out the character itself in different ways. And that's what our ultimate goal for this is. We also want to be able to view the animation and rotate around the character. I think you guys have seen kind of what we want to do in the series introduction, at least I hope you have. And that's what we're aiming for. It's going to be a little bit more involved than I have in the series introduction. We're going to have, like I said, equipment that we can turn on and off, but we're also going to be able to see all the different animations associated with the given character. And that's going to serve two purposes, really. It's going to allow anyone who's making a game to use this project for an introduction screen or a character customization screen, but it's also useful to my real life students who'll be able to use this type of thing as an interactive demo reel. And anyone out there in YouTube land who actually wants to use it as that as well, they're more than welcome to. Anyway, so that's what we're going to be trying to be doing in this series. In today's episode, what I'd like to take a look at is just setting up our initial project to make sure we're all on the same page, to make sure we've got everything set up so that we can follow along together. Okay? Let's get started. Okay, guys, so let's take a look at what we've got here. We've basically got a 3D, we've basically got a 3D project set up, and I'm not going to go through creating a 3D project with you. I have an earlier video that if you want to take a look at it, I will set up I'll put a link in the description, or maybe I'll put up an annotation somewhere around here, and you can click on that and you can go and take a look at how to create a brand new 3D project from scratch. I'm going to assume that you know how to do that, so I'm not going to actually go through that right now though. Alright, so we've got ourselves a 3D project here. We are currently using Unity 5.3.4. It's the latest stable load that's available on unity3d.com. They also have beta loads that are available. I think they're at Unity 6 to be honest, but I'm not exactly sure. I'm not actually using the beta loads. So yeah, the beta loads are available. If you want to take a look at those, then that's great. Download one of those if you want to. It should be very, very similar. But if you want to use the same thing that I'm using, then 5.3.4 is what I'm doing. All right, and the reason why I'm not using a beta load is in case people are wanting to continue on and make something a larger project out of this. You really want to make sure you set up your pipeline and stick with really want to stick with the tools you've got. You don't want to change your tools partway through a project. Changing a pipeline partway through a project is a really, really bad idea. So we're going to be using 5.3.4. All right, now. The only thing I've done here so far is I've got myself two brand new folders located in my assets folder. And creating a new folder is very simple. You can either right click and you can say create, and you can say create folder, or you can go to the create menu right here and say create and create a new folder. Alright, and the two folders I created are the models folder and the textures folder. And those are just the names I use. You can use whatever names you want. In the models folder, what we've got here is we've got a couple of the assets that I'm going to be giving you in order to be able to follow along with this project. I've decided to give you the helmet, the Minecraft character, and the sword. Now, ultimately, what we want to be able to do is customize this character by either putting a helmet on or taking it off, or having a sword in the hand or not having a sword. You in your project might have 10 swords and 10 different kinds of helmets, or whatever, shoes, or whatever you want to do in order to customize your characters. Going through these simple examples of putting on a helmet and taking off the helmet, or putting a sword in the hand and taking it out of the hand, is going to be enough for you to be able to go through afterwards and build the full customization screen if you want to. Okay, so I've got those three assets in here. If we go back as well and we take a look at the textures, I've included 5 textures. I've included 2 different skins for this character, and that's how we're going to change the characters. Rather than changing the character completely, we're just going to change the skin. If you want to go through and change your model, that's perfectly okay as well. But here with this Minecraft character, it's very, very simplistic to change the way a character looks simply by changing the skin. So that's what we're going to be doing in this series. Okay, you've also got a texture for the sword, as well as armor, as well as a sand texture, which we're going to be using at a later date in a later video. Okay, and I will include all of these assets in a downloadable file that will have a link in the description. Okay, and I think I think that's all we're really going to require to be able to do this entire series. If I require more, then I'll add more, but I don't think you're going to need anything else currently to be able to do this properly. Okay. Now in today's video, what I'd like to do is set up the character so the animations are appropriately done. The character asset is appropriately created so that it is falling when it's supposed to fall, and we've got ourselves something to stand on. Okay, that's what we're going to be doing in this episode. First thing I want to do, if we take a look at this character here, if we take a look at the model itself, we can see the model currently has no material associated with it. No texture associated with it. No albedo associated with it. It does have a material. The material itself was created as soon as we brought this into Unity. It's right over here, and it's going to be built in this materials folder. If we take a look in the materials folder, we've got ourselves the helmet material, which is set up properly, the sword material, which is set up properly, but the Minecraft character is not set up properly yet. If you have the same problem, all you need to do is open up the materials folder, click on the material itself, find the albedo right here, click on it, and it's going to open up a brand new window. And then you're going to choose one of the skins. So I'm just going to start off with Kasanas, which is my skin. I'm just going to start off with that, the Kasana skin. If we go back now and take a look at the actual model, boom, we take a look at the model, now we can see that right down here we've actually got a texture associated with that character. Alright, so that's good. Now when we put it in place, we're going to have a texture on the model, which is what we want. Okay? Great. To set up this character, we want to set up all the different animations, and this character comes with a number of animations set up on it. I've got a couple of double jumps, I've got walking, a running, a landing, a bunch of different things. I think for this series, we only need to set up a few of them. We're going to take a look at creating a walk, a run, a jump, as well as an idle, a special idle, all right, a specialized idle that we're going to use when no one's doing anything in the screen, so it's not perfectly blank. To do so, it's very, very easy. All we're going to do is we're going to click on the character itself and click over to the Animations tab. Okay, so if you guys are using my character, then you're going to want to follow along with exactly what we do from this point on, creating all of our different animations. If you are using your own character, then you're going to have to go through and set it up yourself in your own way. Now that I've clicked on this Animations tab, we can see that we've got ourselves a single clip here, take 001. If I hit play, bam, then we're going to go through all the animations associated with this character. There's 250 frames of animation that include T-poses, walking, running, jumping, falling, double jumps, and several different idles, or different idle sections anyway. So what our goal is to not have a single take with everything in it. We want to break everything up so it's just the individual sections that we want to use. Okay. Let's go up here first of all where it says take one, and I'm going to change the name of this to T-pose. And my T-pose is on frame 1 and ends on frame 1. And this might not be necessary to do. You might not actually require a T-pose. I just like to have one. It allows me to, if I set my T-pose in place properly, and it's one of the first things I've got, it makes things easier later on. Like if I decide I want to make ragdoll, for example, it makes creating a ragdoll a lot easier. So having the T-pose available, not necessary, but sometimes very, very helpful. Alright, so with the T-pose in place, I've hit return, I've got it there. I'm going to say plus right here. And when I say plus, it's going to add a brand new clip to my animation. If I go over here right now, well, let me go down here and hit apply first so we can see it. Apply. If I go over here right now, we can see that we've got now T-pose and take 001. Both of these things are now associated with this character. Originally, we only had a take 001. All right, so with take 001, we're going to change this name again. This is going to be our walking. So this is going to be our player walk. And I'm going to hit return. My player walk is going to go from, oh, did I lose my, I lost my, my material. It's okay. We'll ignore it for now. Our player walk is going to go from frame, it's going to go from frame 2, and it's going to go to frame 26. Oops, 26. And if I hit play now, with loop in place, if I hit play now, my character is going to go through his walk. Alright, that's my character walk. And I have to go through and do this for every single one of my different animations. The next one, I'm going to go here, I'm going to hit plus, I'm going to call this one here player run, and I'm going to hit return. Player run is going to go from frame 27 to frame 39. And I know what frames it goes to because I actually created this character. All right, and that's also going to be looped. We're going to break up our jump into a number of different animations. So I'm going to go up here, I'm going to hit plus, and I'm going to create one that's called player jump. All right, and I'm going to hit return. Player jump is going to go from frames 43 to frame 50. All right, that is my player jump. All right, it is not looped. It's not looped. Afterwards, I'm going to add a player fall. So I'm going to go up here, hit plus. I'm going to say player fall. I'm going to hit return. And that's going to go from frame 51 to frame 63. 63. All right. Once again, this is not looped. Lastly, or not lastly, but lastly in my jump, I'm going to add a brand new player land. And I'm probably going to end up changing player land. Right now, player land goes from 63 to frame 65. And I think ultimately I'm going to change this so that the land goes a little bit farther. Let's see if this is, because it's very, very short right now. It's very short. And what I think I can do, I don't even know. I don't know if I can extend this or not. No, you know what, we'll leave it like that. To frame 65 for now. Okay, so 63 to 65, that's great. We're going to add a couple more things in here. We need ourselves our idles. I'm not going to go through the double jumps in here, but I will go through the different idles. So I'm going to say plus, and I'm going to add. I've got myself 4 different idles. I've got myself my player idle left, so idling on the left-hand side. I'm going to hit return. It's going to be a loop, and it's going to go from frame 93 to frame 140. So that is a nice long loop. All right. I'm going to say plus, and I'm going to have my player, and I'm going to call this one shift right. And the player shift right is not going to be looped, and it's going to go from frames 144 to frame 169. 169. All right. I've got all these numbers written down if you're wondering why I keep pausing. I don't have them memorized. All right. We are going to have a brand new one here. Plus sign again. We're going to call this one here player idle right. It's going to be looped. And it's going to be from frame 172 to frame 220. All right. And the last animation we're going to include is going to be our player shift left. All right, player shift left. And we'll discuss exactly why we have these when the time is appropriate. For now, all we're doing is setting up the actual character. And it's going to go from 223 to frame 248. 248. Okay, so, and it's not looped. So that is everything set up appropriately. I can see it right there. I've got myself a number of different animations. In fact, we're using almost all of the animations except for the double jumps. And maybe later on we'll add them, I'm not sure. So you can see down here right now, we only have the 2 takes in here. But if I go down and I hit apply, bam, it auto-fills with all the additional animations. Okay, so the character is now set up as far as the animations are concerned. Okay, with our animations in place, we are ready to actually create our player asset. And I think this is going to be a little bit longer episode, unfortunately. I like to keep them down to 15 or 20 minutes, but I think we're going to go a little bit longer today. Sorry about that. In order to create our asset, let's take a look at what we've got in our current scene. We've got our main camera, which is right here. If we click on our main camera, and I'm moving around simply by using the same controls used within Maya. So I'm using the Alt button and the right mouse button to pan in and out. I'm using the Alt button and the left mouse button to rotate around. Okay, with the camera selected, I can see that I've got myself what's called the camera frustum, and that shows me what I can see within the camera itself. I'm not going to change the location of my camera. Currently in the transform, my camera is located at x0, y1, and z equals -10, and that's perfectly fine. I'm going to leave it right there. All right. We've also got ourselves a directional light, which is going to be adding light to our scene, and that's fine. Maybe later on we'll go through and change our lighting, but we're not going to change it right now. We're perfectly happy with what we've got. what I do want to do is I want to grab my Minecraft character down here in my models directory, and I've got a couple of different options on what I can do in order to bring this into the scene. I can take it, I can drag it, and I can drop it here. I can drag it and drop it in here, and you can see that it actually appears in this location. Now, depending on which one I do, it's going to do something different each time. If I drag it and I drop it on the scene, it's going to place the character in, if it's got something to stand on, it'll place it on something where it can stand. Otherwise, it's going to place it in some random transform location. I don't really want that. I want this to be at the origin. And if I drag it and I drop it in my hierarchy up here, bam, the character itself is going to actually appear at the origin. And you can see currently it is quite tiny. We've got a couple of different options in order to take care of that. We can either scale this entire character up from right here using our scale button. So I can make this 10, it might even have to be bigger, 10 and 10. Alright, that gives us a little bit better character anyway. So it's a little bit bigger. We can either scale it up right there, or if we want to put this back at 1, 1, 1, 1. We could have originally gone into our actual character, into our model, and used our scale factor in order to make this thing larger when we first bring it in. Our FBXs and our FBXs are very small when we bring them in from Maya, and our OBJs are very large. So depending on how you want to do it, either way is perfectly fine. I'm just going to go in here, like I said, and I'm going to scale this to 10, 10, and 10. And I think that should be perfectly appropriate. We can make it larger or smaller depending as we move forward, if we decide we want something to be a little bigger or a little smaller. Let's see what I did in the old project. Yeah, 10, 10, 10 is what I used before. So that's perfectly fine. Now, our character is on screen right here, and once again, we've lost our material. It's actually got a different material associated with it. If I open this up, I take a look. For some reason, my head has been reset to the old skin that it had. All you have to do to fix that, we can zoom in on our character using our Alt button and our middle mouse, or sorry, our right mouse button. Zoom in on it like this so we can see it better. Go to our materials and just drag and drop each of these in the appropriate location. My character is currently facing the wrong direction as well, which is also perfectly fine. We are going to set up a rotation as well to make sure our character is facing the right way. We want him to be facing forward, obviously, here, so let's give him a rotation of 180. All right, our character is now facing the appropriate direction. Currently, let's see how this looks when I hit play. All right, currently our skin is a little bit blurred, and that's okay too. We're going to go to our textures. Make sure it's set up properly. We're going to go to our textures, and we're going to make sure that our filter mode is set to no filter. When we do, we're going to end up with a nice crisp image over here. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing with my other skin. Apply. I'll do the same thing with this other skin right here. I'm going to set up to be no filter. Oops, sorry. I'm clicking everything here. To no filter, and that way both of them are going to be set up to be nice and crisp and clean. If I hit play now, we can see that we've got a nice image. Okay, perfect. All right, so currently our character is here, but it's not going to be working the way we want it to be working. Basically, in the future, we're going to require that our character drops whenever we hit play. We're going to be using gravity in order to be having our jump work. It's going to work exactly the same way as we did with our other 3D series. So we're going to be using gravity in order to have the character fall. All right, we're going to counteract gravity using a force that's going to push our character upwards whenever he jumps, and he's going to fall down under gravity whenever he's required to fall. In order to do that, we're going to have to add a number of different things to our actual Minecraft character, to the asset itself. First of all, let's change the name of this to custom player. Let's call it that. That's a good name for it. That's kind of what we're doing anyway. We've got our animator in place, which is great. We're going to use this later on, and we're going to create a controller when we need to. We want to add a couple of different things to this character. First of all, we're going to say add component, and we're going to add a physics. And the first thing we're going to add is a rigid body. Bang! As soon as we do so, whenever we hit play now, watch what happens to our character. Our character starts to fall. So that's perfect. That's what we need our character to do to be able to interact properly with our controls and our gravity. All right, perfect. The next thing we're going to add under physics is a capsule collider. You can use any collider you want to. Typically, we use a capsule collider for this type of character, and can see it's quite large. We're going to go through it and we're going to adjust it so it's an appropriate size. The capsule collider is going to allow our character to interact with other objects in the scene that have colliders on them. Okay, so I'm going to make a couple adjustments here. My radius I'm going to reduce to 0.1, so it's got a smaller radius. Our height is going to be 0.3, so it's a much smaller height as well. And lastly, we're going to adjust the position, our center position, to 0.15, and that should give you, if we zoom in here and take a look, that should put this capsule collider right at our character's feet. In this case here, our capsule collider doesn't go up entirely up to the character's head. You can increase the height a little bit and adjust this a little bit. Let's say I make this 0.4. Is that going to be too big? It's a little bit too big, so let's make it 0.35. And we can adjust this in the Y as well to, let's say, 0.2, too high, 0.118, let's say. There we go. All right, so we just want to make sure that this is 0.17. There we go. 0.175. There we go. Exact. Now we've got ourselves a capsule collider that kind of takes over the entire character. It's not necessary in this mode. This is the hitbox of our character, and we don't really care what the hitbox is going to be in this situation. This character's not fighting. He's not moving from the position he's in, so we don't really care how big his hitbox is. So if you want to leave it like this, 0.175, 0.1, etc., you're more than welcome to. If you want to put it back to my original values, they were like this. Okay, so 0.15 with a 0.3 height. All right, this is now going to set up a collider that's going to allow our character to bang into other things in the scene and prevent our character from falling through certain things whenever we set up our actual ground. So if I hit play now, we can see that my character will fall away. Nothing is preventing it from actually hitting the ground. Okay, so the last thing we want to do in today's episode is create a little bit of something this character can stand on in order to prevent it from falling away as soon as we hit play. That's the last thing we're doing. I know I'm throwing a lot at you guys, and I'm sorry, but we really want to get this thing set up properly. Now, if you want, you could bring in a platform of some kind. You could create a floor. Whatever you want to do for this player, it's going to be up to you. I'm just going to say create a brand new game object, a 3D object. I'm going to create a cube. Bam. And I'm going to make sure that, first of all, this cube is set to 0. So I'm going to go over to my transform of my cube, and I'm going to set it to reset. So it's going to be set at 0, 0, 0. Everything's been reset here. I'm going to change the name of my cube to, let's call it ground cube. It doesn't really matter what we call it. Ground cube. And I'm going to set up my player so that he's standing approximately on this cube. And I can either drag this down like this so the character falls a little bit. I might just do it like that. I'll put it right there. Let's put it at negative 0.5. That should be fine. I want to make sure that what doesn't happen is that my actual collider right here is not intersecting the cube itself. And you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make my cube slightly bigger anyway. Ground cube. I'm going to make this thing slightly bigger. I'm going to make it 1.5 by 1.5 by 1.5. That just, oops, I made it super skinny. 1.5. That just gives me a little bit more room to stand on. Alright, and that should probably be appropriate. And obviously I'm going to have to drag it down now in the Y, so it's somewhere right about here. Let's put it at negative 0.75, and once again, double check to make sure that we are not piercing that ground plane. And it looks good. Alright, basically what I'm going to have is this character standing on this object, and if I actually wanted to, I could go in, I could find the material that this cube is using. This currently is using the default material. I could create a brand new material and associate it with a sand texture if I really wanted to, which we can do. I'll go into models, I'll go into materials, and in my materials folder, I'm going to say create, and I'm going to create a brand new material that I will call ground cube material. Give it a great name. Alright, I'm going to change my albedo to the sand. Okay, and I'm just going to simply then drag and drop this right on there, so I've got the sand texture associated with this as well. Now, in using this ground cube, this 3D cube, I automatically have associated with it a box collider, which is perfect. That means that my character now, when I hit play, if I hit play right now, my character will remain standing on that cube. He will not fall through. Okay? If you have decided to bring in your own box or your own platform or something you want the character to stand on, you're going to have to add to it a collider of some kind. It doesn't have to be a box collider. It can be whatever kind of collider you want. This character could stand on a sphere and it would look exactly the same. That might be cool. Who knows? All right? All you have to do in order to add a collider to whatever object you bring in is say add component, say physics, and choose a collider appropriate for your object. If you're bringing in, let's say, the world for this character to stand on, you're going to add a sphere collider, obviously. If you're bringing in some kind of, square platform, you're going to use a box collider. If you have something that's more complex, you can always use a mesh collider. It's not going to really affect how this part of the game plays. This scene will be very fast. We've got almost no assets in it at all. All right, so however you want to do it is perfectly fine. In my case, I'm using a simple cube that I created from the game object, and it automatically comes with a collider of sorts. All right, so with that done, I think we are perfectly okay here. We've got ourselves our character set up and all the animations in place. We've got ourselves a simple ground for the character to stand on. We'll be making it a little more complex later on. I think that's all we're going to do for this episode. All right. So if you guys have caught up with that, if you're all caught up, then you're all set to follow along with the future episodes. I think in the next episode we'll take a look at actually creating our camera and a rotating camera. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed that. If you did, let me know down below with a thumbs up. If you didn't, a thumbs down is perfectly fine. Guys, I'm doing this for you. I know how to do it, so leave comments if you have questions. Leave comments for me, okay? I hope you enjoyed it. Thumbs up, thumbs down, comments down below, and if you haven't done so, please take a few seconds to subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day, everyone.